Let's talk about the Cold Moon collection from Ensley Cosmetics. There is a beautiful eyeshadow palette, 5 loose pigments, as well as 7 pressed eyeshadows. And I will be showing you 3 looks. I'll be showing you some swatch comparisons to the shades in the palette, and then I'll be showing you detailed swatches of all the shimmery, beautiful shades at the end of the video in the review portion of the video. And yes, I had to throw on a wig because my new hair is currently loading. I think the cool tones really match the theme. So jumping into the palette, here is what she looks like. Absolutely beautiful, cooler tone color story. This for me is what the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette is for everyone else, because this one is kind of like similar neutral color story, but with very special multi-chrome, shifty, delicious kind of shimmer shadows, which are my preference personally. And I also think this is a great addition to the Ensley product range because they do have quite a bit of colorful eyeshadow. So this is a little bit more of an addition of some more neutral shades as well. And then there's 5 loose pigments, which I'm very familiar with their loose pigments and I enjoy them very much, as well as some beautiful pressed single eyeshadow. And all these products were gifted to me by the brand, so thank you so much for sending these over to me so I could get a video up before the launch. And the launch is November and this all launches December 26th, and the palette will retail for $70, and you can use my affiliate code MILLY10 to save you some money in case you're interested in any of these products. And if you do use my code, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel. So we have a lot to get through, so let's just jump right into the swatch comparisons, the 3 looks, and then at the end of the video, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty details and really dissect all the shimmers. Up Erythia, and I'm gonna put that right into my crease. Oh yes, so pretty. I love these kinds of tones. This is seriously just such a beautiful palette. I think it's a great addition to Ensley Rain. So this is Mauja, and I'm just using that to blend out the edges. And then I think I'm gonna go on the outer corner with Cold Moon. Just kind of like right out here and a little bit underneath my little lash line. I just feel like these tones together are so perfect. And then I'm going to use the same brush and Rebirth. And I'm just going to deepen out this outer corner a bit with that. Obviously it's not like the deepest shade, but just adding a little bit more depth. Taking a tiny bit of Mother's Night, I'm just popping that right against my lash line. I feel like that's not really doing anything. It's like not layering. So maybe I won't do that. Very interesting. I feel like it just barely kind of went on, but not really. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. Not really. I would be curious to use this shade on its own to see what it does. But there is quite a bit of kick up in these mattes so far, so I wonder if it has anything to do with that. So then for the shimmer, picked up Clionadh, and that is a hollow shade, and I'm just gonna pop that onto majority of the lid onto the outer corner. That is such a beautiful shade. Got lots and lots of hollows throughout it. And then I think I'm gonna use the silver, so Kelly Canzaro's, and just pop that onto the inner portion. Okay, definitely should have misted my brush because there was quite a bit of fallout all over my face. And it's kind of sticking down, so definitely would make sure to do your eyes before your base. So here's the first finished look. So I forgot to press record. So we are redoing this look. So I already have brown eyeshadow underneath my lower lash line a little bit because I have to redo it. So I'm going in with Winter Solstice, and I'm just gonna run that through my crease and then blow it outwards a little bit. Just taking a little bit more. And then I'm picking up Transformation, and I'm just going to run that into the crease as well and just kind of deepen it up a little bit. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to be creating the wing again, taking Garnet just along the lash line. Have a tiny bit of fallout again. And just connecting my lower lash line. And then blowing this wing out. Just slowly. There we go. Super pigmented for sure. Picked up Snow Crystal. Look at this. It's so shifty. It picks up a little thick, and that's going to go just all over the lid, and I'm just tapping it on. It's super pigmented, and it is hollow, but I do feel like the hollow flakes are a little bit larger. They're almost like hollow flakes, actually. So I'm just kind of blending it into the crease as well so that there's no harsh line, and here's what that looks like. So pretty. This eyeshadow wing is definitely a lot more intense than it was the first time I filmed this, but I'm just gonna go underneath my lower lash line and just kind of blend it out a little bit more, and then going over the eyeshadow wing. Here's the second finished look. Priming with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. Picking up Mother's Night. I'm just going to put that onto this outer corner. And it's going to be the only matte I'm actually going to be using for this third look. And I'm just going to bring it underneath my lower lash line as well. Got a little bit of fallout. And I'm just going to bring it out here and blend it out. Getting so much depth with this shade. Putting on a little bit more out here. I wiped off my brush and I'm going back in just a little bit more. I'm going to be putting on a little bit of the Divina Specular Sparkle and Shimmer Glue Base. And it's just going to go almost all over the lid, but predominantly on the inner portion of my lid. And I'm picking up Snowdrop. Ooh, the shade is so pretty. And I'm just slowly going to be putting that up into my crease and just taking it across a little bit. Definitely a bit of fallout with this shade. It is flakier. Then I picked up Frosty Eclipse, which is a press shade from the collection. And I'm going to put that underneath and a little bit onto the outer corner. And then for the inner corner highlight, going into Snowdrop Faerie. The shade is so shiny and bright. But I do have quite a bit of fallout here. Here's the third finished look. So first, let's talk about the pressed shadows. For the majority, these are very neutral leaning. These are great for one and done kinds of looks. Not all of them are shifty. I believe only 2 of these are shifty. And these 2 are also more on par with their typical single eyeshadow texture. These are extremely smooth, very metallic. They literally feel silky smooth, and the shade is Arctic Whisper and Toy Aura. And the rest of them have a little bit more of a thicker kind of consistency to them. They're still extremely smooth and very shiny and sparkly, but they just feel a little bit different. And these are just really great neutral shades, and I can't wait to dip into these. All these shades are very much something I would wear to work when I do go in the office. As for the loose pigments, I love loose pigments. Yes, they're messy, but they just have like a certain kind of look about them. They just look extra sparkly and beautiful and just exquisite on the lid. Of course, you do absolutely need to use some sort of a tacky primer. Better yet, you can actually mix them with some sort of mixing medium. Not every mixing medium will work. I do prefer to use the Karla Cosmetics Fix Potion, and I just mix it with the pigment in the cap and avoid any sort of fallout. All these shades are really beautiful. If you don't have Radiance from Clionadh and you don't mind a looser version, I would definitely recommend checking out Polar Pixie because it does look like it is going to be a loose version of that shade. So now let's get into the eyeshadow palette. I already mentioned I love this neutral color story. I feel like we have some depth, we have some in between kind of midtones and some lighter shades. I would have loved to see an even more cooler toned, deeper shade, kind of like Rebirth, but push it a little bit further because I think this would make this palette even more versatile. Now there are a couple of different textures of formulas in here for sure. Snowdrops, Aurora, Saturnalia, and Snow Crystal are kind of the most flaky. They have the largest kind of flaky particles in here. They feel a little softer to the touch because of that fact, because they are basically pressed flakes. I would recommend using these with a finger or with a tacky primer and making sure you don't put on too much. And then Snow Fairies and Storm Fairy are also a little bit like more textured, but not necessarily like they look textured on the lid. They completely smooth out, but even in the pan you can see they're not quite as textured as the shades that I just mentioned, but they're a little bit in between. And then the most smoothest shade, and also pretty much kind of like a standard shimmer formula, though very, very metallic and smooth, are Forbidding, Wolf Moon, and Kelly Canzaros. I've literally never heard that word before, and I have to Google what that means. And then Kion is also very, very smooth, very beautiful. The hollow in this shade is so evident. It is very, very easy to see, and I believe that is the only hollow shade in here. And then Borealis is a little bit interesting because it is kind of like Snow Fairies and Storm Fairy, but it's a little bit in between those and Kion and Wolf Moon, I would say. As for the mattes, I feel like they're a little bit more on the powdery side, not quite exactly what I'm used to from Ensley Rain, though I might be remembering wrong, but I do remember that the Harvest Moon mattes were pretty harder pressed, and then the Lands of Enchantment mattes, I think it really varied depending on the shade. Some of them are a little bit more kick-uppy. I definitely see myself reaching for this palette, not only because of the variety of the shimmers. I love that most of them are pretty topper-like. I love that there's also some more neutral leaning shades, and then also just that one holochrome I feel like makes it a really well-rounded, neutral, cool tone leaning eyeshadow palette. Now, unlike the Harvest Moon palette, this palette is $70 instead of $88.88. So I wanted to present you with as much information as I could gather from my experience with this palette. Whether or not you should buy it is totally and completely up to you. Given the information that has been presented, you can make your best decision on if this is something you would like to add to your collection and pick up. If you like these kinds of tones and you love the combination with that, with the very special, beautiful, shiny, different textured shades, then it might be for you. If you don't like any sort of textured eyeshadow, then I would say this is not worth it for you. So you really just have to kind of balance out what you're looking for. What do you prefer? Is this something you see yourself using a lot? And of course, there's also the aspect of being able to do BYOPs, creating your own little color stories, especially if you have some of their previous palettes that have removable square pans like this. You could create some of your own kind of color stories with that. So since we're now going into the new year, 2024, I do hope to see them switch from the AI generated packaging. I would love to see them do some sort of a theme again, kind of like the whole moon theme, you know, Harvest Moon, Cold Moon, etc. I think it was Flower Moon as well, but represented differently at higher artists to just give their brand a little bit more of brand identity. So those are my thoughts on the collection. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking this up, which look was your favorite. I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.